The lawmakers have shared some good news, everybody. Joe Biden has released information on the current state of the economy. Dozens of states have announced rebate checks for the residents. Many of them are still waiting and sending out payments throughout the year. Now, as many Americans notice that inflation remains very high and at record levels, few lawmakers have proposed anything to solve the problem. There are still millions of people that agree that checks should approve a fourth round and that there should be 4 stimulus checks for the Social Security, SSI, and SSDI. And I agree, because the Change.org petition calling for $2,000 per month stimulus payments is still gathering signatures. It recently surpassed 3 million signatures, and that's a good sign, because the past rounds of checks were issued in 2020 and 2021. It totaled more than 3,000, just to help people affected by the economic downturn. Now the IRS is issuing 3 stimulus checks during this time. The first was $1,200 in April, the second was $600, and now the third is $1,400, and the fourth will be $2,000. Numerous states are issuing tax refund checks this year, and with big budget surpluses. Many more governors are proposing new relief plans. The Maine governor already signed an emergency $473 million heating and energy bill this week, clearing the way for the state to begin issuing $450 checks to most taxpayers. Both the House and the Senate passed the bill, with 2/3 support needing to enact it as a measure, allowing it to take effect immediately. Mills announced soon after the votes that she had signed the bill into law. The state could begin $450 relief checks this month. Governor said, with high energy prices causing real hardship, this emergency measure will ease the financial burden on the people of Maine by putting money into their pockets. Even the Georgia governor has announced plans to spend more than $3 billion of the amount through a combination of one-time tax givebacks, with fellow Republican legislative leaders signaling support. The U.S. president has applauded the results of the December jobs report. Even though December was last month, I don't know why Joe Biden's talking about it now. He said these historic jobs and unemployment gains are giving workers more power and American families more breathing room. Real wages are up in recent months, he says. Gas prices are down. We're seeing welcome signs that inflation is coming down. It's a good time to be in America. The U.S. added 330,000 jobs in December, beating economists' expectations of 202,000. So while the unemployment rate fell to its lowest level since '69, in total, 4.5 million jobs are added in the United States. And according to Biden, in the first 2 years of his presidency, the United States had the 2 strongest years of job growth on record. And in December, the unemployment rate fell to its lowest level in the last 50 years. Biden also said, the unemployment rate for people with disabilities has never been lower in our country's history. So job growth showed some signs of slowing down this December, a potentially welcoming sign for the Fed as it tries to tamp down inflation. Average monthly job gains have come down from around 600 grand at the end of 2021 to around 200 grand at the end of last year. One White House official even said that the moderations in job growth is appropriate, and we should expect it to continue in the months ahead, even as we maintain resilience in our labor market recovery. The president stressed that while the latest jobs report indicated a positive trajectory for the U.S. economy, inflation remains a difficult issue for him to deal with, but it's not impossible and he has no excuse not to send out more stimulus payments. I think Joe Biden has to do something better.
In the state of New York, we also have great partners in our state legislature, and you are very fortunate, those of you in central New York, to have Senator Rachel May on the Agriculture Committee, and let's give her a warm round of applause as well. Senator May. So why is this so important to me? Well, the very first job I had that wasn't a babysitter, I was always babysitting. Big Irish Catholic family in Western New York. It was either babysitting siblings or somebody else for 50 cents an hour. But I heard I could get 75 cents an hour if I picked strawberries. So my friend and I, when we were whopping 13 years old, please don't tell my parents, we hitchhiked down a country road all the way out to Brant, not far from Hamburg. Went past Bray Miller's and my friends the Droughts not far away. Past the Zittles dairy farms. I went to high school with all the Zittles. And I started to become a champion of agriculture, sitting there picking my strawberries. But for me, it was kind of like pick one, eat two, and you only got paid by what you produced at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I was exhausted. And I said, all right, give me a room full of crying babies. It's gotta be a lot easier than this. So that was my career. And one other reminder that I didn't have what it took to be a farmer was from my own family, a long, long line of dairy farmers in Ireland. I went over to County Kerry, Kerry Gold butter. And I said I'd help out. Maybe I could milk some cows. My job was to close the gate after the cows went in. Closing a gate is more complicated than it looks. It really is. And unbeknownst to me, it wasn't latched properly. The cows all left. And my family informed me, Katty, you'll never make a good farmer's wife or a farmer. Go home. So that was my career. I tried. And so I ended up the governor of New York. But over the years, even when I was a representative in Congress, representing the most rural part of our state, I had the privilege of seeing our peach fruit farmers up in Niagara County, going to the Finger Lakes and meeting the grape growers, and Chautauqua County, the largest continuous growing area for Concord grapes in the world. Do you know things like that? My head is filled with all kinds of facts like that. I'm always bragging. And then I had a chance to get to know the dairy farmers, people like John Noble, Sister Sarah, carrying on a long legacy. And I saw what they did, innovating, biodigesters. What do you mean you're taking farm waste and doing something to it, and all of a sudden it's powering houses and maybe even neighbors? They've been doing it.
We have a responsibility to protect each other, to protect our democracy, to protect our rights, and to really recognize difficult truths for what they are. So, anyways, I just wanted to kind of put that out there. I also think it's really important for us to have eyes on what happened with Shireen Abu Akleh in Palestine. She was killed by Israeli forces. A venerated journalist, a U.S. citizen. And we can't allow this stuff to be happening with our resources. Like a lot of times people say, you're treating this differently, and you're picking them out and treating them differently. Our tax dollars are a part of this. Our resources are a part of this. We can't even get